Miriam and Yossi, who came from Israel for the unveiling, and for my son-in-law Alf Avraham, who undertook to say Kaddish for Label a whole year. Shikoah. You know, this was called, we're here for an unveiling. And since my brother Label didn't have that high profile that his brother Yitz and me had in the Jewish community, bearing in mind that Yitz was chairman of the Vada Kashris and of the Board of Jewish Education, the Toronto Jewish Congress, just to may name a few, and I didn't do so bad either. And therefore, what I want to do now is to unveil his character that a lot of people didn't know. And the first thing that I'd like to say is, I remember very vividly how even before I was married, how we used to sit around a Pesach table, read the Haggadah, how he liked that very much, and how when he came to shul, where did we daven? Of course, at Clanton Park. The first thing he would do was get a chumash, so he could look at a chumash. Why is all that? Because if he took his name Label, the first three letters is Lamed Yud Yud, comes to 50. He could hardly wait as he counted the 50 days from Pesach to Shavuos. And what he had was, when he came into shul, he got a chumash. Why? Because the last two letters of his name is a Beit and a Lamed, which are the first and last letters of the chumash. And not only that, if you just switch those two letters around, you get Lev. He had a very warm heart. And you know, he was also known by another name to his nieces and nephews and to so many others, and it was a big compliment. He was known as Uncle. Everybody called him Uncle. Nobody called him Levi. It was Uncle. And and I remember every Hanukkah we used to have a big Suda for Hanukkah. The whole mishpacha was there. He would always go to the bank and take out 20 or 30 $10 bills and give every one of the children a $10 bill. In those days, that $10 was a lot of money. Was it 50?
It was later.
Oh, you remember?
And there is one other thing that in the Chumash that was his tefillah. It was the Aseres HaDibrot, because Lo Tirtzach, he didn't murder; Lo Tignof, he didn't steal; he didn't covet. But what one of the Aseres HaDibrot he kept so diligently was Kabed Asavicha Vesimecha. He stayed home with them all the time, even as they got sick, just in case they needed his help. And finally, what a lot didn't know was that he had a tremendous love for Medinat Yisrael, and he had big problems with the way the government sometimes acted, relationship with our Arab cousins. And what he undertook to do was to write letters to Jerusalem Post and to the Prime Minister, and they published a lot of his letters. And when I came into the home after he was nifter, I found a safety deposit key. So I went to the bank. I figured we're going to get big treasure. What was there in the safety deposit book? Copies of all the letters he wrote to the Prime Minister, to Jerusalem Post, to members of Knesset. And I think I was thinking that maybe I should take those out and maybe put them into a safer, because what he wrote was really something nobody would have expected or believed, but they were really something that was great. And now, so we hope for all he's done and for all of you who have come out, that his neshama will have an aliyah, and he's now up in Hashemayim, which which has the same gematria as the Shema, 395, and that has 3, 9, and 5, and 17. That's a great place for him to be. And it gives me a great pleasure to introduce now Rabbi Weber, and he's exactly the Rav who should be here. My parents davened all the years at Clanton Park. My brother and I were presidents at Clanton Park, and Label liked to go there too. So with a great deal of schus, I would ask Rabbi Weber to say a few words.
So we did connect, your brother and I. During the early years, he was actually, that I was there, he was involved in Clanton Park. He actually came to our house for Shabbos sometimes. So we connected. To say I knew him well, you don't know anybody well. We all have layers and levels, but there was a picture that emerged both from my interactions and from what you shared with me. And maybe the best way to capture that picture is with a little story of a professor who begins his class one day by giving everyone sheets of paper, all the same sheet, of course. And it's a plain white sheet of paper with a black dot right in the middle. And he asks all of them, what do you see on this sheet of paper? Really just to sort of get conversation going. Plain sheet of paper with the black dot right in the middle of the paper. And each and every one says the same thing. And they all go ahead and say, we see a black dot. And he said, no, there's something else here. And they look and they turn the paper upside down and magnifying glasses and next to the sun. And they look again and again and again. Until finally there's one mature student. Someone with a little bit of life experience, someone who understands life, not with the vantage point of a kid just starting, but with the vantage point of someone who lived. And that mature student says, I see a big sheet of white paper also. There's a little black dot too, but I see a big sheet of white paper. And I think there's a moral here and a lesson that speaks to me. I think to you as well, and that captures the essence of Larry alav shalom, of Leib alav shalom. Every life has its black dots. Every life has things that aren't quite right, that go off kilter, things that just don't work out. And so many of us sort of focus on that black dot, and that's all we see, and we forget that there's a whole sea of white and bright and light that surrounds it, but we choose to neglect that white and bright because of the black. Black might be a dot. It might not be the majority, it might not be the defining component, but it's just human nature to sort of see the glass half full. And it takes a koach to see the fact that the glass is indeed half full, not just half empty. There were challenges. Every life has its challenges. There were challenges. But what I noticed is that despite the challenges, there was a lot of white and a lot of bright and a lot of positive and a lot of daring do. And so children are a bracha, and so frequently when one doesn't have one's own, one has difficulty connecting with nieces and nephews. It is such as the nature of life. And that's a reality that of a black and a white. Your brother, your uncle, your great uncle, your friend made a conscious choice, and it sounds like he really achieved positive results. He was always with you Shabbos Yantif. He would walk, right? Not sleep, walk, but that was who he was. But he was always there, and he found meaning and comfort and joy and family when not everyone would have found that. Not deliberately and not consciously, but subconsciously. Somehow he taught himself to focus on the white and the light. He had a wonderful mind and all sorts of intellectual kohos, and he shared them. And so he was involved in Israel advocacy before there was the term Israel advocacy. And those letters, they made a difference. You never know what one letter will do to the editor, to someone who reads it in a paper, to someone who just reads it and throws it away and doesn't publish it in a paper. There was a lot of effort. I don't know that others would have made the same choice because it was black, but he focused on white and light and what he could achieve for the world. And I think what's most indicative to me would be a point that was made when we just spoke now. We spoke before the Levaya, and it's not something I can attest to because we interacted, he and I, but not on a daily basis as you did, is that he never ever spoke badly of others. He had this capacity to never see bad, talk bad, notice bad. I don't know how many people can say that. Even people whose glasses are 2/3 full or 3/4 full or almost full to the very top. There's just a little bit missing because every glass is missing. And when your glass is missing, you have a way of lashing out and noticing what's missing in someone else's glass. And he didn't do that. And I think HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants us to move on to the Kamali right now